It's November 1980, and the cream of international offshore powerboat racers gather in Melbourne to do battle for the world crown. Their arena is Port Phillip Bay, a beautiful but treacherous inland sea where a 204-mile course has been set by the host, Australian Offshore Powerboat Club. Melbourne has given competitors a great welcome with civic receptions, a street parade, and numerous official functions. The best boats in the world line up. Michelob Light is owned by American magnate Bernie Little, and only the best is good enough. When everything is right, it is tested again and again. There's no second place in a World Offshore Championship. Not as fast, but a rough water stayer, is the winner of the US National Championship and North American Continental Series, Big Bill Ellswick's 39-foot cigarette, Long Shot. Michelob Light and ultra-fast Scarab has a formidable crew in Joey Ippolito, Hal Salmon and Richie Powers. For them, pre-race testing is a matter of detail, but not so for the crew of Faber Shoes. Their first test run revealed engine problems, and Michel Maynard and his crew had to install new engines before really beginning their trials. Faber, a 39-foot British-built Cougar catamaran, is playing against the odds. Calm water is perfect for a cat, but that doesn't happen often in Port Phillip Bay. Longshot skipper Bill Ellswick not only won the national championship, but also the coveted Harmsworth Trophy in England. He wants to take the world crown and make it a grand slam. So, while Longshot's wrenchman John Broadwater checks out his motors, Faber's Bobby Doney takes time out to sign an autograph. And things begin to move in the Tolman Group camp. Their fuel, held up by an industrial dispute, has arrived, and engine man Jack Cunningham no longer has to sit on his hands. Ted Tolman, the European champion, can get behind the wheel for testing. He not only bought a Cougar Cat to Australia, but has backed it up with his 39-foot Bertram monohull. He has to decide which of the two boats will run. He's not really happy with the performance of the Cat, which has its twin motors mounted in the tunnel rather than the more conventional sponson mountings which are used in the Faber Shoes boat. When it comes right down to it, though, the lady with the track record must be favourite for the race. Reigning world champion, diminutive 59-year-old grandmother Betty Cook has twice led the Kamer crew to a world crown. While Victoria's Premier Dick Hamer talks to this remarkable woman, she's one of the most relaxed competitors at pre-race trials. Her 39-foot ultralight Scarab monohull is immaculately prepared, and her crew, John Connors and Bill Vogel, have only last-minute checking to attend to. One of Australia's big hopes is Peter Dean, who will run the biggest boat in the field, his 44-foot Dean Special monohull. He's taken a big punt and put two brand new, untried engines in the boat. Race day dawns fine and clear. Weather conditions in Melbourne can change practically without notice, but it is a beautiful spring day, and not even the most optimistic rough water specialist sees much hope for big seas. Australian Barry McMillan in the 36-foot Cigarette Eagle saw his chances with the weather, but fate has favoured the catamarans. Camstar, one of the favoured Class 2 entrants, driven by Brian Fisher of Melbourne, and the Slingshot crew move away as the fleet heads out for the start. The field is gathered in by 2 helicopters. Pace builds up. Michelob Light gets a great start, and the lightweight mono bounds away. Eagle and Slingshot are among the leaders as the field quickly sorts itself out and the heavily laden boats are trimmed for top speed. But within minutes, the first casualty limps back to St Kilda. South American champion Tom Gentry is out with a shattered outdrive. American Eagle had arrived in Melbourne barely hours before the race, and he had little time for testing. Longshot is not finding the water at all suitable. Ted Tolman and Joey Ippolito try a little gamesmanship as they settle down behind the race leader Betty Cook in Kama. And look how throttleman John Connors has that boat trimmed. As the field reaches the first turn mark, 4 boats have broken away. Betty Cook leads Michelob Light, Tolman Group and Favour Shoes. Betty Cook likes to run her races from the front, and it is obvious she intends to stay there. In Class 2, John and Gary Haynes are making good speed in Softly, but their run is to be short-lived. Within minutes, engine failure will see them idling back to St Kilda. Tony Lowe and Doug Bricker are doing somewhat better in Lowe's new 30-foot Force hull with its triple 2.4 Merc offshore outboards. But it's Bruce Harris in Sharky's Cat who is looking most impressive in Class 2. His only competition, Italian Dr. Zanoni's 30-foot Maripo Whitebird, is out with engine failure. The calm water is proving a severe setback for Eagle, and Barry McMillan's only choice is to drive to finish. Slingshot has the capacity for speed, but oil pressure problems mean they must run below capacity if they are to go the distance. Bill Ellswick's Longshot is still pushing a lot of water. The Fort Lauderdale champion won't be a happy man. As the leaders make the second mark, nothing has changed. Favour Shoes has run wide and is still 4th. Tolman Group has a slight lead on Michelob Light, and Kama leads. But Longshot is missing. Word comes through that they have cooked an engine and withdrawn. Kama leads around the Queenscliff turn, but Michelob Light takes advantage of Tolman Group's poor cornering to slip through on the inside and take second place. As the 4 leaders head away on the run back along the eastern shore of Port Phillip Bay, the small Class 3 boats start back at St Kilda Marina. It is the first official Class 3 World Championship, and the dedication and competition among these crews is just as fierce as among the bigger boats. A light wind has raised a low chop, and the small but very fast boats bound away with every ounce of power extracted from their stock outboard engines. Back in Class 1, Michelob Light is being trimmed past the limits to close the gap to Kama. As a result, it won't reach its next mark before a universal joint lets go. Favour Shoes is overtaken and run into second place now, but Tolman Group is only seconds behind, and throttleman Jack Cunningham is content. And again, Favour Shoes moves as it goes to the front as they round the Frankston mark. It's a good tactical move by the French-born American rookie offshore racer. It would appear to be a bid to tempt Betty Cook into stepping up the pace and risking a blown engine. The big question is, will or can Kama take the bait? Tolman Group is still only a few seconds away and keeping pressure on the leaders. Has Betty Cook been tempted? No. Maynard looks like he has slowed down again and allowed Kama to regain the lead. He served notice he can take the front running any time he likes, so he takes the wise course and allows Kama to set the pace. As Kama and Favour run north to finish their first lap, let's take another look at Class 2. Argentinian Gerardo Lorenzino in his 30-foot Mustang pony racing, with former World Class 2 champion Kevin Wilde navigating, doesn't have the pace to match the leaders. Force also has lost sight of his class leaders. No doubt Tony Lowe is wondering if his Mercruiser-powered 28-foot Magnum might not have been a better choice. He is trailing Red Rooster, the GT2 class boat driven by Alan Burlock and Peter Lowry. Brian Fisher's Camstar has opened a substantial lead on those two, but he is certainly not matching it for speed with the incredible Sharky's Cat. Bruce Harris has already opened up a class lead of several minutes and is still going away. Kmart is holding outright lead at the end of the first lap. With 100 miles behind them, there's been a huge rate of attrition. But the average speed has been an incredible 86 miles an hour. No wonder they've been failures. American Eagle is out, so are Longshot and Michelob Light. Slingshot was reported stopped, but has rejoined the race. Steel E is right out of contention. Now, Betty Cook rounds the St Kilda mark. Favour Shoes is hot on her heel with plenty to spare. Tolman Group comes up to make the turn. The second Cougar cannot be ruled out either. It might lose ground in the turns, but it could push both Kmart and Favour past the breaking point. Premier Dick Hamer takes a close-up look at the action, and there's plenty to see. Australia's contenders Eagle and Slingshot approach St Kilda. Eagle is suffering engine problems. A piece of valve has blown out of one air intake and gone down another, destroying both cylinders. He has no hope of matching it with the leaders and is getting further behind, but he's sticking with it and aims to finish. Nothing would please him more than to beat arch-rival Slingshot home in a race of this stature. Dean lost 6 minutes when Slingshot threw a prop blade and they stopped to fit a new screw. It allowed Eagle to take a break of almost 4 minutes, but on getting back into the race, Slingshot really crammed on the pace and made up nearly 3 minutes to round St Kilda only just over a minute behind Macmillan. Tolman Group with the breeze dead ahead sets out in pursuit of the leaders. Michelle Maynard is still content to sit behind Kmart, but there's still 100 miles to go. Betty Cook's hopes for a third world crown must surely lie with a breakdown on the Favour Cat. Tolman Group has broken. A complete blade has gone from the port prop and vibration has wrecked the outdrive. What bad luck. Class 1 is now virtually a two-boat race between Kmart and Favour Shoes. Michelle Maynard is showing fantastic restraint in letting Kmart continue to make the pace. Meanwhile, Sharky's Cat leads the Class 2 field around St Kilda. He has an enormous lead over Camstar, but Harris is not buttoning off one little bit. He has the throttles wide open, and they'll stay that way until he gets the checkered flag. Brian Fisher, with his son David and Bob Duncan crewing, has Camstar running beautifully. It's not a young boat, but immaculate attention to detail has paid off for the Melbourne businessman in only his second year of offshore racing. Force has made a slight gain on Red Rooster, leading it to the St Kilda mark by only seconds. While victory must be remote for these crews, there's always hope. The engines on Sharky's Cat have had a lot of races, and the Camstar crew could make a mistake. Therefore, the racing between Red Rooster and Force is keen. Lorenzino is still in there pitching for South America in pony racing. It's a pity he was not able to bring his own boat from Argentina, but he was unable to make suitable connections and to compete had to charter a virtually untried boat. Defeated, Ted Tolman heads back to St Kilda Marina. An immense personal and team effort by Tolman, who now owns part of Cougar Marine, has failed to fulfill his driving ambition to be world champion. But there's no doubt he'll be back in there next season in a new challenge. The steel-hulled Steel E, driven by Brian Cox with Dennis Collins and Charles Campbell crewing, finally rounds St Kilda for the first time. His 4 200-horsepower Mercury outboards are simply not delivering enough power to give him a chance in Class 1. Steel E is closely followed by reigning World Class 2 champion Britain's David Hagan in the Rarotonga, a 32-foot Cougar chartered from New Zealander Barry Ford. Engine gremlins have not allowed him to realise the boat's potential. Steel E keeps plugging. The boat was designed and built for the world's longest offshore race, the 1,000-mile Queensland Pacific. There, rough water ability and the capacity to finish every leg are more important than outright speed. Slingshot has joined the ranks of the retired. The harmonic balancer on one motor has disintegrated. It's a bitter blow for Peter Dean, who is the founder of offshore racing in Australia. He seldom fails to finish a race. Longshot heads back to St Kilda under tow, a most unfortunate ending for the US champion. He's cooked one expensive motor and the other is also damaged. It's a bitter pill to swallow after travelling so far and after such an outstanding season in national and international competition. But while the victims of calm water and engine braking speed limp home, what's happening with the leaders? Virtually nothing. Kamer and Favour Shoes have completed their run from the West Channel to Mornington and are heading back up the bay, with Kamer still setting the pace. Kamer thunders into the turn, going in tight and coming out wide. Favour Shoes flies through on a tighter turn and both crews open their throttles wide. For a moment, Kamer has more acceleration, then Maynard begins to edge forward. The cat's bow is in front. Is this Maynard's move to take control of the race? As Favour Shoes takes the lead, navigator Bobby Doney waves a helicopter away. Air pressure on the deck will cost speed, and they don't want that, not now. Betty Cook also calls for more speed, and John Connor obliges. It's do or die for Kamer. The beautiful Scarab once again forges to the front. As tension builds, the Class 3D boats finish. It's Barry and Keith Lawrence in Rebel Cat who claim the first world crown in this class. Only 4 minutes separates the entire class after 100 miles. What an incredible race. Southern Cat, with Barry Angus and Dave Grounds, is next across the line, making it a 1-2 for Shark Cat. New Zealander Dick Marlowe, in the very fast Eltherm, was third across, followed less than 30 seconds later by Ian Bealby and Ian Sanford in Tackless. A spectacular finish to a great race. Barry, McMillan and Eagle are still in there and fighting. It might be distant, but they are running third, and in the company they're keeping today, that's a great performance. Both engines are now playing up, but McMillan keeps going. He knows races can be lost in the last few miles, and racing at more than 90 miles an hour is putting terrific pressure on the mechanical gear aboard both Kamer and Favour Shoes. Kamer is still in the lead, partway to the West Channel turn, but here comes Favour. Maynard opens the throttles, and with the wind giving lift, he forges to the front. He feeds even more power to the big Mercruisers. On Kamer, Betty Cook calls for everything, but it's no good. Favour Shoes streaks away. At speeds approaching 100 miles an hour, Maynard goes for a lead he knows he can carry all the way to the line. Back at the checkered flag, more Class 3 boats finish. Super Steel, carrying Peter Ham and Keith Gillett, completes an impressive season, bounding over the line for the Class 3C world title. Favour Shoes is open up a lead of more than a mile. He streaks across the leg from the West Channel marker to the final turn at Ricketts Point. Kamer keeps up the pace. It would take only a moment to catch Faber should the slightest problem occur on the Cat. But the Faber crew keeps hard at it. After almost 200 miles in a beautifully controlled race, Maynard is not about to throw it all away. He no longer needs full speed, but just enough to maintain his lead. Maynard doesn't lift his eyes from his gauges for a moment. Back at St Kilda, Sharky's Cat completes the second lap. He's still running at top speed, and the four engines haven't missed a beat. With a big lead and only 50 miles to go, you'd reckon he would slow down a little, but that's not Sharky Harris's way. He will hold these throttles open to the end. Camstar runs up to the turn. He cannot catch Sharky's Cat barring a breakdown, but he won't give anything away either. Peter Hawkins' Spectre crashes across the line for third place in Class 3C, trailing Chris Camomile's Moonraker, which has finished just seconds before him. Faber rounds the Ricketts Point turn, still about a mile in front of Kamer. Nothing can be given away. They've got to keep going. There's only a few miles left, but races can be lost in less than that. Bobadoni looks back to check on Kamer's position. Betty Cook has Kamer running like a racing runabout, with only a few feet of wetted surface on the 39-foot hull and the engines delivering every ounce of power. Now Michel Maynard has helicopters over the finish line in sight. He only has to keep going to win. Ahead of him, Red Rooster makes a last-moment dash to get the edge on Force as they round the buoy for the last time. These boats are amazingly close after 150 miles of racing. Burlock takes the turn first with Force hot on his heels. Maynard has the finish line in sight. Bobadoni checks behind one last time, but Kamer is still more than a half a mile astern. Faber Shoes roars towards the line. It's only yards away. He's over, and the checkered flag is delivered to Michel Maynard. Betty Cook and the Kamer crew come up to the line. She has missed her third world title, but only 30 seconds separate them at the finish. It's been a fantastic contest. Michel Maynard is the new world offshore powerboat champion, and Cougar catamarans record their second consecutive world crown. An elated Faber crew wave the checkered flag. They've done it, and in Maynard's first full season of racing offshore. It's a remarkable performance that will go down in the record books. The average speed, an incredible 86.4 miles per hour.
Congratulations, Michel Maynard. And to you too, Bobadoni and Sammy James. It's been a fantastic race, and you've really done it. A world championship in your first season of offshore racing.
Well, it is fantastic. We have done it, yes. I'm not sure it happened yet, but we're sure very happy it happened.
You could not have had better conditions for the boat of yours, could you?
Conditions were ideal for the boat, and but the crew did a magnificent job. They worked very hard last night to get everything together, and the engine held up good, and it's just a team effort, and it just happened, everything worked out. So we're very happy at the end of this race.
Well, you ran a very controlled race. Did you stick with pre-race strategy throughout, or were you tempted?
I think Michel's strategy was just the way you saw it. The first two laps, we just stayed back where we had to be, and then after we went through the slot the second time, that's when we just took it away.
So you finally opened it up in the last run down the back straight?
Yes, well, the catamaran goes better upwind. The wind goes lifted up, and we can go faster, so I could get more speed without getting the RPM too high, and we decided we'll make our move on that leg and really try to get some advantage there. Somebody wants to go in the water.
Did you feel any other competitor was going to give you serious problems?
Well, you always think you can have problems, not only with cats, but with anybody else. As long as they are competitors, you can have problems. As far as the boat itself is concerned, we think we have the best boat right now, so we are not very concerned because it is a cat. We are concerned because it's a competitor and everybody wants to win.